right, welcome back, Gopher fans, to another episode of Sky U Pod. It's been a minute; it's long overdue. Apologize about that, but I've had some pretty significant life changes here as of late, so we're getting these out when we can. This isn't the most fun episode to do, right? We're here to talk about the recent Gopher coaches changes, but we do appreciate you tuning in. Again, we are your Gopher football podcast for the College Huddle. Feel free to go check them out at thecollegehuddle.com. We appreciate your support. Got a lot of good stuff on there. So, again, yeah, feel free to check that out. Let's start with the most recent change here, and that is Winston DeLattiboudere, D-line coach, former Gopher. He is leaving to take the same job, which is defensive line coach in the NFL for the Arizona Cardinals. Um, you know, First of all, we're all really happy for Winston. Like I said, he played for the U, was a great Gopher, was a coach that was on the rise pretty fast. Everyone had nothing but great things to say about him. Really made an impact recruiting. That's going to be the toughest part to replace, I think, is just how well he seemed to connect with his recruits. Um, you know, a part of every college coach's arsenal or things they're supposed to develop skill wise is their recruiting ability. But for him, it seemed to be like his thing he was best at, and one of the things he contributed the most to this staff. So not saying he can't coach D line, obviously he can, or else the NFL wouldn't be hiring him. But I just feel like his recruiting aspect and the connections he made with a lot of the commits, including helping us land the top player in Minnesota this past year, the edge from Robbinsdale Cooper High School. He was a big part in that. So hopefully, he continues to stay here, and that Fleck has developed a good relationship himself with all those guys, which I'm sure he has. But it's just a guy that you've had put in a lot of work, right, in that recruiting department. So that's going to be the tough part to replace there. Yeah, he had a lot of juice, as they say, and we did just give Dennis Dotton Carter a promotion to the rush end position. I don't think it's been official, but there's been some people speculating that he'll just now get promoted to the defensive line coach altogether. With some of this buyout money that we get, I would love to, one, obviously hire another coach, but get somebody that is more known for their recruiting capabilities, just because I think that's going to be the tougher side to replace with Winston moving on. But he helped develop a lot of good guys here. We still got a lot of good talent here. And so him leaving for the NFL, I don't think really is a shot at Minnesota or anything. Obviously, it's a big promotion. And if you want to coach in the NFL, that opportunity doesn't come along very often. So when it's there, you got to take it. Props to him. Tough to be mad about that. But again, big loss for the Gophers. Hopefully we're doing okay there for replacing him. Now, the second one, and the one that happened the most, longest ago, I should say, Corey Hetherman accepting defensive coordinator job at Miami. Now, we have been through this before too often. I feel like that's really the frustrating part here. Despite signing a new contract just a few days prior to accepting this job, we had given him a salary boost that was going to put him at $1.2 million per year. Reportedly, Miami came in more at about 1.5, and $300,000 increase and an extra year on the contract. Plus, it's part of the decision, I'm sure. Florida has zero state income tax, so that's a lot more than just $300K a year that he's probably getting from Miami. So tough to compete there, when it comes to Miami, there's probably only about 7 to 10 schools that can even compete with their pockets nationally. I know that the Gophers are part of the Big Ten. We got that new contract money, so you'd like to see that start kicking in here and more of it going to the coaching salary pool. But everyone's calling for that, so we'll get to that here in a second too. Specifically with Hetherman, though, I think they did the right thing in regards to this specific situation. They gave him a good pay raise, right? He had one great year, and you don't know how that's necessarily going to last. I liked all the things he was doing. I'm a believer in Hetherman. I liked the aggressive nature of the defense, right? I mean, you look at the defense compared to when he compared to the year before he got here. You know, we were last in the Big Ten. The run defense really struggled, gave up a lot of big plays. The Gophers defense ranked fifth in total defense in the nation after 1 year under him, with largely the same personnel. It was a top 20 scoring defense, and I think we were top 15, top 20 run defense in there as well. So just made a huge improvement with the guys he had. Now, something to point out here that might make us Gopher fans feel a little bit better. He didn't have a hand in recruiting any of the current talent. So I'd be shocked to see any of our starters or anything like that follow him in the portal. They didn't have a lot of time to connect with him other than the 1 year he coached here. That being said, I do think it's a loss. I know it was only 1 year, but I liked the aggressive nature of the defense. You saw it with an increase in takeaways this year. And the big thing, too, for me was he had a lot of experience coaching linebackers up. And I think that this Gopher team's linebackers were a weakness heading into the season. And they started out slow, but you could really see them get better and better as the year went on. And so losing a guy like that has kind of a good history of improving linebacker rooms, going back to even what he did at Rutgers. Tough to lose a guy like that. Now, the other part of this, which is I'm sure a lot of fans are most frustrated about, and the part that's getting talked a lot about is, once again, the Gophers lose a defensive coordinator to, I'm not saying it's not an increase or a step up in job just going to Miami, but he's leaving for the same position, right? He's not leaving to take another head coaching job, and that's where the frustration really grows. You look at the coaching salary pool, I know it's not maybe relevant to this specific one with Hetherman going to Miami, but it is we're on to our third new defensive coordinator in 3 seasons now. And you look at where the Gophers stack up in pay, we are dead last in the Big Ten, 15th out of 15th out of teams that report their pay. And it's been pointed out, Penn State and USC don't report their pay. I'd be shocked if they don't pay more than the Gophers. I'm sure they do. So it's really us and Northwestern probably at the bottom of the Big Ten. I don't remember the specific stat, but somebody expanded this to, to the SEC and the Big Ten. And the Gophers are also bottom 2 in that of teams reporting. So not good, guys. The Big Ten makes the most per year from TV contracts, and we're just not seeing enough of the resources be dedicated to the coaching pool. So what can you do about that? Well, the number one main cause there is the Board of Regents. They decide how much money gets funneled to the athletic department, which department in specific, which sport. And we got to make our voices heard. I posted it out right after Hetherman got hired away that enough is enough. Yes, the money going into football has gone up steadily over the last couple of years. You're still drastically behind. One of the smartest things you can do right now with all these new conference realignment, all this stuff going around, is invest in your football team. Your football team is going to be the moneymaker for these schools. And there's a lot of excuses thrown out by the U. We're one of the few schools that haven't cut any sports. Indiana, they cut actual office positions in their athletic department to trim some fat, as they say, to get more money into the football programs, because they just boosted up their assistant coaching pool salary drastically. So, the pathways are out there for the Gophers to make some of these moves to increase that money going out there, like to those coaching pools. So the most painful one, I think, would be to cut some sports, but look what Wisconsin did. They cut baseball. They cut something else too. I don't remember specifically what, but the big one was they cut their baseball team and they went all in on football and basketball. And, I know that it's not been great as of late, but their programs are ahead of us as far as spending goes, as far as money generating goes. Iowa's still ahead of us as far as what their football team generates. So, and you can say those two teams have better fan bases than us, sure. But what's what better way to generate more interest in your own team than investing in it? Indiana didn't have a great fan base for football like before this year, and they went all in on it. And look at the results; they got a college football playoff berth out of it. Uh, they're winning recruits now over some big schools, transfer portal recruits over some big schools. So the time is now to invest in your coaches, and there's really not a lot of excuses to not be investing in the coaches at this point. If you don't think PJ's the guy, like if that's your holdup, one, why is he still here? But then two, the only way you're going to see PJ's full potential, because he's not an X's and O's guy, is to give him the money and the leverage to go out and at least keep his assistants that he hires internally, gets up, coached up. Because ideally, the perfect situation for the Gophers would be to get their version of Iowa's Phil Parker. And I'm not just saying that they're going to land that caliber of a defensive coordinator, but someone that's got some loyalty to the head coach in that program that's going to stay. And he's not going to leave for another defensive coordinator job elsewhere, no matter who comes calling, right? But in order to get that guy to stay, you got to be able to go up to at least that $2 million a year mark at this point. It's probably going to go up from there. I mean, and the Gophers aren't alone in this. Ohio State just lost their defensive coordinator to Penn State. I think he's now the highest paid coordinator in football. So, money's going to get thrown around and guys are going to leave. But you would hope now that finally, now that Danny Collins has been promoted, who was our safeties coach, he's now been promoted to defensive coordinator. He's a guy that was with PJ back at Western Michigan, just as a grad assistant, worked his way up, safeties coach, now got the full-time gig. You would hope with him and Harbaugh had that same kind of upbringing under PJ as well. You would hope there's some built-in loyalty there enough where if they at least sign an extension like Hetherman did, that they're going to actually stay. And they're not going to take another contract when they just signed a contract extension. And then hopefully long-term they're with you unless they accept like a head coaching job or make a jump to the NFL. So that's the hope here. Like I said, it's really on the Board of Regents. They got to put more money. And this is why, a lot of people worry about Mark Coyle. Like he was the second job. He's the runner-up for the athletic director job at a USC. Quite frankly, I'm hit or miss on Coyle. Part of his job is to be able to talk these guys into getting your sports teams, their management, the coaches pools. Part of his job is to get them more money. And he's not doing it. And I'm not putting most of the blame on him. He's done some nice things. He sounds like he's been great at working with Dinkytown athletes, but I mean, I don't know what choice he had there, so I'm not trying to give him too much credit for that. But Mark Coyle has to do a much better job at applying pressure, applying leverage. These guys getting money. He is in the top third of the Big Ten for compensated athletic directors. So put up or shut up from Mark Coyle. I don't want to hear about I can't get these guys to approve it, yada, yada, yada. Then why are we paying you so much money, Mark Coyle? Like, what's the point of having a high-paid athletic director to just kind of keep things the way they are? All we've done is given PJ contract extensions, which I'm happy about. A lot of that money is, not a lot, but some of that money is gone towards the assistant coaching pool. But I think Mark Coyle and the Board of Regents, it's time to hit them up, hit up their emails. I posted it out on X, so if you need to find it, look there. I don't have it up in front of me right now, but we got to let them know that we're angry, and I think they do. I think a lot of people saw that post, not just from me, but Andy Grieger, writer. I don't remember who he writes for at the top of my head, but he posted out their information as well. They're just complaints about them at least, and that got a lot of views. So I'm hoping it gets done. I've sent them an email, so I hope you follow suit and do the same. We can talk a little bit more about Danny Collins now. Like I said, he's been in the wings for a little bit now. One thing I do like about Collins is, trying to spin this as a positive for the Gophers. He did coach your safeties and was your passing game defensive coordinator, which was the best part of your defense last year. That was the most effective part of your defense in every game. You faced some pretty good passing offenses. Penn State's got a decent passing offense. USC, though, could really spin it. Maryland could actually throw it too, and all those guys, Penn State won, but the other two, they struggled against us. So it was just the clear strength of this team. And so to have him now stepping in there after learning under not just Hetherman, but also he was the co-defensive coordinator under Joe Rossi. So hopefully he can pull a little bit of what he's learned from both of those guys and do a slight combo. Me personally, I'm hoping he sticks a little bit more on the aggressive side, right? Joe Rossi rarely blitzed. Hetherman blitzed quite frequently, especially off the edge, doing some different things. So, I think it's a pretty good spot. A lot of people are down, and I get it after losing Hetherman. I am for sure, but I think having Danny Collins step in there is as good of an inside hire, or really as good of a hire for replacement as you were going to get. The guy's definitely ready, or you're going to find out if he's ready. If he's not ready after sitting under Joe Rossi and Corey Hetherman, well, then you know that he's reached his peak and you can move on from there. But I think after after him seeing the guys, how they've operated, Joe Rossi and Hetherman operating under them, I think it's going to be an okay transition. I just hope, and what I'm most curious about is the tendency to bring pressure. And if you don't need to bring it, that's great. But it's tough to get up pressure with a four-man rush unless you're one of the top schools with top talent. I do like your defensive line, but I'm curious to see how willing he is to bring that pressure, because Rossi would just sit in a shell. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, where Hetherman tried to force the issue a little bit and bring the pressure. And that's kind of the style I'd like to see us keep. So that'll be interesting to watch. Along with Danny Collins being promoted, we did hire former Purdue defensive coordinator Kevin Kane to an on-field coaching role. So a lot of people pointing this out, but I like the hire as well for this reason is, someone with experience, right? So just another hand to kind of guide Danny Collins if he's unsure about something, or just another hand on the shoulder there to help him make sure he's ready to take on this full-time defensive coordinator role, which I think he is. But having Kevin Kane be there is just another voice of reason for him to lean on. Love the hire. Another thing about this hire, he primarily coached position-wise linebackers, which is our biggest need after Hetherman left. Like I said, it was kind of an up and down year, but they got stronger as it went on last year for that linebacking core. You do lose Cody Lindenberg to the NFL, so you got to have some guys step up there. And it sucks losing Hetherman after just being on the recruiting trail and all that. But I think we replaced it the best as we could. With Danny Collins stepping in, full-time defensive coordinator now, he's earned it. And then Kevin Kane coming in to help out with just be another voice to lean on, knowledgeable resource for him, and also be able to coach up the linebackers. I'm assuming that hasn't been said, but I'm assuming that's part of the reason he was hired, just another coach there for that linebacking room. So yeah, guys, I mean that's really it for now on the coaching changes. That it's not the funnest update to do, but just wanted to get on here, get an episode out. My son was born now, so I'm not sure how frequent these episodes can be, but I want to talk about it, and I knew you guys want to talk about it, hear about it too. Sorry this episode isn't live, but we'll be back. Spencer and Max will be back. So as always, guys, those are my thoughts. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you are able to. And as always, guys, go Gophers. We'll see you next time.